Welcome to the Winging It Travel podcast, and this episode is part 2 of 2 of our 2-week road trip in Jordan. And in this episode, I'm visiting the Dana Biosphere, Petra, Wadi Rum, and Aqaba. Let's get stuck in. Hello, I'm James, and this is the Winging It Travel podcast. In 2023, I spent a year travelling the world with my girlfriend Emma. Join me as I take a look back over our epic trip, and remember to like and subscribe to keep up with our adventures. We woke up to amazing views of the Dana Biosphere after a great night's sleep in the tent. We had a hearty breakfast before booking our tour for the day at Shak Arish, which was a short 2-mile loop. This tour costs 60 jod. And my advice here is to get a few of you so you can share the Jeep, because it's a fixed price for the Jeep and we could only find ourselves for this trip, and there were a few people milling about at breakfast getting together for a group tour. So the more people you get, the cheaper it gets. And our guide Mohammed picked us up and we're on our way. We started to walk down towards the valley, and Mohammed was a bit crazy and spoke very few English words. He is a Bedouin and knows these lands very well. He was very enthusiastic as we traversed the rocks, trails and viewpoints. He would even free climb the rocks, as you can see here. And encourage us to take alternative routes from the other tour groups in the area. And here's more snippets for you. This reserve was absolutely spectacular to walk in at ground level, but also from a height with the vast views of the whole area. I did love seeing all the different kinds of rock formations and the colours of the fauna. We even got to see some wildlife too, which piqued Mohammed's attention. And as you can see, it was a scorching hot day, so a hat is necessary for these type of tours, and the blue sky really did bring out the desert-like terrain in all its glory. A highlight for me was a little break for tea, as Mohammed placed us in a quiet space by a rock with some shade and great views, and he made us a traditional Jordanian black tea with the herb za'atar and sugar. It tasted absolutely unbelievable. I do remember asking him, what is that herb? What is that taste? I need to find out. And also to note here is the hospitality shown by Mohammed, as he couldn't have a cup of tea because he was observing Ramadan, but that did not deter him from offering the best hospitality for a nice little break in the sun. We wandered back to the Land Rover through the terrain and trails, and we were entertained by Mohammed as he was hiding in the bushes to scare the other tour guys. It was absolutely hilarious to see. And the tour was very easy in terms of difficulty. The walking and hiking wasn't too bad, little bits of climbing on rocks, but I would highly recommend it, and it's very easy to do even in the sunshine and the hot weather like this. For the rest of the day, we chilled out at the camp with a late lunch and tea provided by the hosts. Tea is always available at this campsite and in Jordan as a whole at any part of the day, and lunch was not even booked or planned, but they offered us some nice fresh food for lunch. We met a girl called Beck, and we all planned to do a tour the next day, which Caleb helped organise, and this is called the Wadi Dana Trail. And for now, it was just dinner, tea and an early night with a great sunset. The next morning was a beaut of a day as we were treated to hot weather again, and the breakfast was awesome as we saw into the distance the direction we would be walking in. So we all met at 7:30 a.m. for breakfast before heading off at 8 a.m. We had to arrange transport for the other end so we could get back to the lodge, and the trail started at our camp and finished 16 kilometres through the valley to Fainan Lodge, where our taxi would be waiting for us. And they predicted it would take around 4 hours, and the cost of this tour is 70 jod split between 3 of us. So as you know from the previous tour, the more people we get, the cheaper it will cost. And just like that, we're off onto the trail, and the first part is walking along the road to the old Dana village, where the trail officially begins. And this is essentially a downhill walk and trek, and it was steep at first, but before we knew it, we were in the valley and the views were breathtaking. I've never really been anywhere like it before, and you can't really get lost as you follow the trail, but we're treated to a mix of green colours, red rock and blue sky, a feast for the eyes. Also, we were the only ones on the trail, and it was a bit eerie and surreal at the same time. I felt incredibly small amongst nature here. Caleb, the Eco Lodge host, had kindly packed a lunch for us and made sure we had plenty of water due to the weather, and it was a very hot day, as you can see. There wasn't much shade to have lunch in, but we found a little tree to sit under and chilled out for a bit whilst taking a break and having our lunch. We eventually made it within 4 hours to Feinan Lodge, and overall a great walk, very quiet, surreal, colourful, hot and quite easy in terms of the legs. Yes, 16k's is quite far, but no uphill, pretty much all the way downhill, and you can't get lost. A very nice walk indeed for the morning, and we eventually made it into Feinan Lodge, had a rest, chilled out for a bit, and our taxi was there to pick us up. My advice is not to buy a soft drink from Feinan Lodge. They charge extortionate prices. And when we told Caleb when we got back, he was not happy. I think he even called him to share his displeasure at that. But the journey back took 2 hours in the Jeep, and we saw some camels en route and some great views as well. And then we chilled out in the camp the rest of the evening as we're checking out the next morning. The next morning was a standard great breakfast for us, and I gave Caleb a huge hug. He is an unbelievable host. If you need somewhere in Dana to stay, the Eco Lodge is the place. Caleb will help you organise your room, your transport, your tours, and anything you need to know about the area. He really is a great host. Go and see him. And next up for us is Petra for the next 2 days. So jumped in the car and made our way there. And we stayed at Happy Night Hostel for 2 nights, which is 15 jod a night. And you will need a car to visit here because it's up the hills, quite far away from the main site. But no messing about, we checked in, got refreshed, and got to Petra. We had the 2-day pass, which I would recommend, so you're not rushed to do the whole site. You can actually spend a week there, but 2 days is enough to get started. And first of all, there is parking by the entry gate. Just ignore the people who claim to be guides or advise on parking. You can park there for free and make your way to the entry point. And you will need to validate your Petra pass at the entry point and your Jordan pass too. And this was around midday for us, and it was super busy with tourists, as you would expect. And we made our way inside. There is a 5-kilometre walk from the start to the finish, pretty flat. It's the most popular walk for most of the tour groups. And there are other walks you can do on the sides to get a view of the place, and we had some hallmarks for the next day. But for this day, we started off making our way to the treasury, and don't fall for the horse or pony scam. You'll get people coming up to you saying, your horse is included in your pass, do you want to ride there? And don't do that, they'll charge you extortionate prices. We did see some people falling for that, unfortunately. Unless you are injured and just need to get back, that is an option, but don't say yes in the normal times. However, we made our way to the treasury, winding around the rocks. The curves are spectacular, and as you can see, it's pretty magic. I know there's people here kind of ruin the view for you, but that's the price you pay for getting there midday. I'll come to that in a second, but it's pretty awesome as you weave around, and as you know, the famous site will appear before your eyes. You can actually hear in the distance the noise of that area, so you know it's coming soon, but it feels like forever because you think, oh, the next corner, but it's not. You do arrive there, and eventually, what an absolute sight this is. Breathtaking, just one of the most magical sights on the planet. You are going to see lots of local vendors, camels and tourists, but it's all part of the experience if you're here during this time of day. However, at this point we made a pact between us that we're going to come back the next day at the opening time of the site before the tour buses arrive, and let's see how different that would be. But for now, we enjoyed the sights. We could have stayed there all day, but we carried on with the main trail, and we stopped off for a trendy coffee stop, Bedouin style. Look at this. And after enjoying the treasury, we made our way to the site of the tombs, and specifically the royal tombs and the palace tomb. Yet another old theatre will appear, and you cannot beat them, as I said in my last episode. And the tombs are awesome, easy to do. You can sit inside, chill out in the shade, a bit of coolness for you because it's a very hot day on this one, and nice to reflect on an awesome day in Petra so far. After reaching the end of the main trail, we made our way back to the entrance point, and here you could see the potential of visiting without the peak hours, because on our way back you can see it's very quiet and it was much cooler at this point as well. But we made our way back to the hostel, and then we met our friend Beck for dinner at the Reem Baladi restaurant for much needed dinner, and I would highly recommend this place, very cheap and very filling. The next day we are up early and out, and the owner of the hostel left us a packed lunch for the day. And we're out roughly about 7 AM. So as you arrive down to the main site, you park your car up, you make your way in, and the tour buses do not arrive until 8:30, 9 AM. You can see you pretty much have an hour to yourself, and it is magical. Look how quiet it is. We marvelled at the walk we did yesterday, but now we could take our time, enjoy everything with no pressure, people annoying you or being behind you or ushering you along. It really is the best time to visit. This is the hottest tip in town. And you can just see what this place might have been like back in the past with no one there, the odd person here and there like the Bedouins and the camels, and it's just a majestic feeling. We arrived at the treasury to one camel and a few tourists. What a dream. We were elated, got our photos, got our videos, and this is what I want to see in Jordan and Petra, a major site ticked off my list. And we felt so good as we wandered around the site, getting our photos and enjoying the presence of this amazing structure, marvelled at it, and just thought how lucky we were. We walked to the end of the main trail to begin the 800 steps up to Ad-Dir, and en route we were there even before the local vendors were getting set up, and it also started to rain a little, but we pushed through and got through to that monastery, which was another magical view. We sat there with a coffee admiring the view and reflecting on an already great morning. Then we made our way down behind the tombs from yesterday and up some more steps to make our way to a little cafe with a lookout over the treasury from a height. We bumped into Becca at the start of the trail, and she gave us some encouragement because we were pretty knackered at this point and it's getting quite hot as well. But we made our way up, which was tough, especially in the heat, but this trail was not as easy as we thought. Lots and lots of steps and rocks and down some trails, but we eventually made it to the cafe, and my word, what a sight. Look at this. The guy who owns this cafe has the best seat in town, and you can grab a soft drink like a Coke and chill out in the hut before grabbing your photos over the edge. These may look a tad scary from some of these angles, but it wasn't a drop down to the very bottom, so don't worry. A fantastic viewpoint, a different perspective on the treasury, which makes it look even more incredible how this thing was even created. We absolutely loved our rest and views before heading back down and ultimately out of Petra to our car and to the hostel for the evening. What a great 2 days. The next morning we checked out of our hostel early as we had to be at Wadi Rum for 9:30 for our day tour and night in Wadi Rum. So we left at 6:45 AM with our brekkie in hand and got to the Welcome Centre within 2 hours. We even had time to stop off at a viewpoint along the way. And we got our Jordan Pass stamped at the reception and made our way into the Wadi. We found a tour group online in town and parked up at their office. The tour cost 120 jod for a night in Wadi Rum with a 2-day tour. This included transport, meals and accommodation. And just like that, we are heading off into the desert, travelling on the back of a Jeep. And look at these colours, unreal. Proper orange colour of the desert, so grand and raw. And to kick off the tour, they dropped us off at a viewpoint, which you can see here. 360-degree views of unbelievable rocks and viewpoints and views, and just the distance of it is insane. A lot of climbing on rocks, which is great because it's always good to get an elevated view of the desert. Then we made our way further into the Wadi before stopping off to walk up some sand dunes, and let me tell you, this is tough in the heat. In this tour you also traverse those close encountered walkways, and not for the faint-hearted if you suffer from claustrophobia. There was more climbing on rocks to get more stunning views, and it's just never-ending feast for the eyes. Of course, I had to get those photos for social media and this video. And we stopped off for a coffee at a Bedouin campsite, and I love soaking in the atmosphere and the heat as I watch the Bedouins have banter between themselves. It's quite funny to watch. Towards the end of the tour, we wound up at a site where people can sandboard down the dunes. Not for me though. I think one guy even hit a tree. And we saw some obligatory camels before heading out to a viewpoint for sunset. This is actually the last day of Ramadan, and our guides were excited and proud to finish it off. The sunset was breathtaking, and it was another busy day in the desert and one to reflect on a lot. What a sight, what an experience. The accommodation was in the most incredible setting, clear skies for the stars, an array of food in a buffet style, and our tent was the most coziest thing I've ever seen. But my word, what a day, what a tour. Never really been in the desert like that before, and these tours are well worth it. I would highly recommend them. And the next morning we made our way back to town before heading to Aqaba. We planned a couple of nights in Aqaba to chill out and enjoy some sun and some sea by the Red Sea, and we're happy to be back in civilization again as we had a coffee at Joy Cafe and some Wi-Fi. And this day we completed some life and travel admin and chilled out at a hotel called Al Riyati Hotel Apartments, and it's what we needed for a few nights, and it cost 79 jod for 2 nights, no breakfast. The next day we made our way around Aqaba, checking out some coffee shops like Ella Baker, V60 and Maria Specialty Coffee, all serving great coffee for 1 jod. For us it was a couple of nice chilled out nights in Aqaba. Lots of coffee, lots of chilling out, lots of food. It's the place where Jordanians go for a little holiday, so a nice little holiday vibe there by the Red Sea. Great weather too. And for the last day, we made our way back to Amman to drop off the car at the airport, and we stopped off at Y Cafe. And I think this place had some of the best coffee in Jordan, and maybe the Middle East, and maybe even the whole trip. What a place. Went there twice. Unbelievable. Overall, Jordan was a magical 2 weeks. I would highly recommend getting a car and road tripping it and getting out there in the country. The roads are great, just watch out for those speed bumps. The amount of sights you can see is incredible. Make sure you get the Jordan Pass. It is a must do in the country if you're there for longer than 3 days. And for 2 weeks, you can fill your time seeing Amman, Ajloun, the Jerash Roman ruins, the Dana Biosphere, Petra, Wadi Rum and Aqaba, and there is more to see than that. We had a busy 2 weeks, a great trip, and I can't wait to return again. Just make sure you get out there to go and see this amazing country, amazing hospitality, and you will not regret this trip. Thanks for tuning in, and next, we are in UAE. Please follow and subscribe on my YouTube channel today, and please rate and review the podcast on any podcast platform that you use. Thank you.